Okay, guys, today's a big day. A lot of trash talking has been happening. I mean, I know that my palms are sweaty.
Let's be clear. You did a lot of trash talking.
Yeah.
In all fairness.
Because if you guys are wondering, what time is it, Ray?
It's game time.
I'm just not feeling it. I feel like I won the unofficial one earlier, which means I'm dead now.
No. It's game time.
Sorry.
It's game time. Ray's got a game for us.
Poetry for Neanderthals. Dun, 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 dun.
Or poetry for Sasquatches.
Yeah. No, different. Sasquatch is its own complete species. Let's not start.
Okay.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
So
Okay.
this is how we play the game. If we were live, I would have an inflatable club, and each one of us will get to hold this club when the person was reading a card. So here's the deal. I have to try to describe a word that is multi-syllables most times by using singular syllable words, speaking like a caveman.
Welcome to Second Take at Eastlake, a podcast of Eastlake Community Church in Irmo, South Carolina. You are invited to join us any Sunday at 9 or 11.
Oh, a Neanderthal.
A better way to describe that is a word that is multisyllable or is a phrase. Because some of what you did earlier were phrases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has Rob been practicing this during our lunch break?
No, I've been in a meeting for Summerama. So I've been.
I just need to make sure we got a good, clean game going right now.
I was a little busy. We were having our Summerama planning meeting for the training, and so I was a little occupied.
Yeah, I was at
Okay.
Cobb eating healthy, organic things from the earth. So this is a clean game.
He went to Kroger and either got a salad or he got sushi. That's what that means.
No, I went to Cava and I had lunch with a church member.
Oh.
Yep, I did.
I had salad and fruit.
Nice.
I had a burger from Sunday.
So
My team
let's
picked
go,
up
Ray.
lunch.
So how does this game work? Keep telling us, Ray.
All right, so I'm going to try to describe a word
Crazy.
or phrase,
Okay.
hoping that you guys would guess said word or phrase. Now, if they they have the option of 1 or 3 points. 1 point is getting the one word. 3 points is the actual phrase.
Okay.
So let's you know what? Let's get warmed up. Let's just get warmed up.
This is just
We'll
a
do
warm up.
one.
Is there a prize for this victory?
No.
Well, Philip, to be fair, next week begins the month-long celebration
I'll
of
give you
the
5-year-old.
rest of us, meaning you, me, and Laura. What is that?
Never mind the
5
fact that Michelle is the only one that wished me a happy birthday on my birthday in April because apparently celebrating
That's not true.
is not cool. Well, I got a card the day after from you, Ray. Okay, I said on my birthday.
You know what?
Facebook.
That's
He
fair.
was sick. He was home with COVID. It didn't
your
exactly make it
birthday?
easy, right?
Pretty
Yes, he
sad.
was.
I was pretty
Rob,
sad.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna try to redeem myself. I did not message
Still
you.
blew right through it.
I blew right through it, and that's okay if you do that to me too, because I don't need. That's okay.
He's just in
Right.
it for the cake.
I'm basically in it for the cake. Maybe yeah.
First
Okay.
word. Not a wife.
Husband.
A husband.
Rob got it. Now, you want to go for 3? You want to go for 3?
Does it
Yeah.
mean I
Okay.
got one?
Okay. One that is good.
Good husband.
Trophy husband.
One that shows up.
Engaged
Oh.
husband.
Present husband.
Present husband.
um,
Invested husband. Invested in loving husband.
We got to be done
Oh.
now. This is too many. Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
One that lifts up. One that
Encouraging
shows up
husband.
and lifts up.
Present. We've already said no.
A husband that shows up in.
Encouraging.
Next.
Supportive husband.
Supportive. Okay.
Oh my gosh. That's not even a thing.
That wasn't a very good clue, right?
That would be why I'm not married. Yeah. That's...
Oh my gosh.
So
All
Sheldon,
right, so now it's game on.
I won.
No,
Oh no,
that was
that was just a warm
No,
up.
no.
Hey
I
Rob,
said
if
it.
you wouldn't, if Rob would
said
not have won that, he would have said that was a warm up. But
No,
because
I-
he won it, he wants to keep
I would
it.
have honored the points. I thought he said I'm going to go easy first.
On the
Hey,
editing
here
of
we
this
go.
podcast, I'm gonna replay the tape. I'll replay
Now-
the tape.
So let's you know what? Let's get warmed up. Let's just get warmed
Oh,
up.
this is just
We'll
a
do
warm up.
one.
Is there?
Now we start. Now we've officially started. We've
Fine.
officially started.
Okay.
Big wind.
Gale.
Tornado, hurricane,
Oh, yeah.
Philip got it. Tornado. Philip got it. Tornado. 1 point for Philip. You want to go for 3 or you want to go to the next one?
I think we should always go for 3.
we should go for 3.
Okay.
That should be the standard.
Yeah.
Big wind sound.
Howl,
Whistling, howling, train. Sounds like a train.
Remember the first word. The second word comes after this. Big wind.
Tornado siren. Tornado
Oh, that was good.
alert. Tornado warning.
Rob.
Okay.
So 1 for Philip, 1 for Philip, 3 for Rob.
I'm feeling this. My palms are sweaty.
Oh,
All right,
gee.
here's the next one. We'll do 3 or 4 rounds of this. Next word. Show. Fame. Pants.
Actor.
Pants,
You said pants?
Pants? Show and fame.
showman,
No, one
The
syllable,
show-
right? Oh,
the
no.
show fame. Pants.
the show, fame, pants.
It's not one syllable for us, Michelle. We can have
Oh,
multiple
that's
syllables.
right.
The
You can
show,
only-
fame, pants.
Famous.
They wear these pants
Leotard.
in
Um,
fame.
In fame.
leggings.
Kilt,
I don't know what fame is.
leggings,
I already said leggings. Tights.
yoga pants.
Tights,
Rob got it.
pantyhose.
Tights.
Okay.
What does
Alright.
a tight have to do with a man? Tights?
I didn't say man.
Oh, I thought you said man.
No,
was-
he said fame. And I'm like, what are we talking about?
Pants. All right.
We're talking about.
So
Okay.
listen. Rob just said the word tights. The next thing that I am describing comes before this. So tights is the second word.
Okay.
So nervous.
See through.
Opaque
Clear.
tights. Sheer tights. Sheer.
Sheer tights.
All right, good job.
Michelle,
Well, that's because I've
Sheer
owned
tights, you
them.
got it.
You probably haven't.
you got
Yeah.
legs.
I've had to buy them
Flows
that
out
way,
of you.
but I got the wrong
Sheer
thing.
energy legs. Remember that sheer commercial?
I do.
I was a teenage boy. I was like, wow.
We wear short
Oh
shorts.
my God.
Oh, here we go. We're degrading. Okay.
Sheer energy legs.
I technically
Here's the
said
next one.
5.
Here's the next one. Not rich.
4.
4. Broke. Broke.
Philip broke. Philip got
Oh.
broke.
2 points for Philip. Whoa, I can't hear you.
Philip, you want to go for 3?
Oh,
I thought we were always going for 3.
All right, here's the next one. Broke is the second word. All right? All right? Mm. Mm. All right. Not high,
Low, bro.
but
Low.
low.
Low broke.
Low broke.
Middle income broke. Middle
Broke.
class broke.
Oh, good night.
Not high. And like low.
Very broke.
Very broke. Completely broke.
Being broke.
Not puffed.
Deflated. Deflated broke. Deflation.
Close.
There's no broke. It's got to be in the word, man.
Deflated.
Flat broke.
Flat
Michelle,
broke.
Michelle.
No!
Oh, number 3. She got 3 points.
She's up now.
6 points
All right,
now, right? I
last
got
one.
3 on the last one.
Last one.
How many points? How many points you got?
I got 4 because you stole one of mine. So
Okay. All right. Here's the last one. Green. Kids
Grass.
not want to eat.
lettuce.
Broccoli.
Vegetables, broccoli.
Michelle, broccoli. She got broccoli. Okay. Now, now broccoli is the second word this time. So you're trying to guess the first word and put it with broccoli.
I get it.
Steamed.
Boiled.
Steamed broccoli. Did I get it?
Steamed broccoli.
Ah!
You didn't even get a clue.
I pulled it out of the air. I pulled.
So my internet is lagging and this stinks.
No, he never said it. I just guessed it out of the air. He never said a word.
I never said it.
He never gave a hint.
My internet is
I never
lagging.
gave a hint.
Oh my god.
It was
So
so. What's
now-
the score? What's the score? Do we
That
have
was
a
it,
tie?
you said.
What do we have?
I got 4. He's got 4. She's got 7.
Michelle took
All right.
it.
That was the last round.
I would like to keep playing until Michelle loses, but we'll give her this one.
Yeah, we got to give her one.
I never win at these
I know.
things that we
I know.
do. I'm like really happy. I get to pull one out today. Yay.
Oh, you guys are crazy. I need new friends. I'm gonna go find some new friends. I can't live like this anymore.
Oh,
All right. Well,
Michelle.
let's get to the Sunday that just happened. Oh, there goes Michelle. She's out celebrating.
That's it. She's done.
She left to celebrate.
she doesn't think she needs to participate now.
Uh-huh.
She won't.
So if you guys are wondering, which you're probably not, but we are currently in a series. Michelle, did you just go do something important to go like celebrate, like run the hallway? or
No,
something?
I was trying to get, I could not get, first I had the light over my head that looked like a halo. Then it was so dark that you were going to complain that I looked like I sat in the dark. So I shut that off and moved my table so I've got some light.
Wow.
There you go. I'm
That's
trying to make
so
your
good.
job easier, Philip.
Thanks, Michelle. Well, you're good. Okay, so we're in a series called When Helping Hurts, and we call it a core curriculum here, which means we'll come back to it every couple of years because it's just a core thing to us. Not that this will forever be a core curriculum. I mean, you never know, but right now it's something that we feel the need to come back to every couple of years just because it's important to remember why we do what we do. So this last Sunday, let's see, Michelle kicked it off, and then Ray was up there bringing some heat on Sunday. And so really we're going to discuss the sermon from this Sunday, maybe a little bit of Michelle's, and maybe we're going to try to integrate in a lot of why. We're going to try to answer why throughout this whole thing. Why the sermon, why the series, why do we do this, that, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what you can look forward to, plus a lot of entertainment from above average smart people. And that's why I host, so I don't have to answer. All right, so here we go. So first thing, let's talk about this was, Ray, you started it off with talking about your calling on your life. And I love that. And we talked about that is something that people are really interested in. And so I thought it might be fun to share that in this group. So we kind of heard Ray's, you could give a quick version of it if you like. But I'd be curious too, to hear from Rob and Michelle, like, how did you know the call on your life to be a shepherd of people?
Okay, so I shared this. Actually, I'm going to do the quick version because I typed this in because I was the online pastor on Sunday.
Oh yeah.
Mine was two parts. The first 7 years was like a slow boiling frog trying to get out of the water. So it's like God had given me some responsibility of shepherding a small group of students at a small church in Vermont. And I loved it, but I didn't think I was going to do that for a living. And so I kept trying to find ways back to the secular world.
Mm.
Got into Young Life, did that, got fired from Young Life because of my relapse that I've been very open about, and thought that was a confirmation that I was supposed to stay secular and work, in a career that looked like my degree was. And
Mhm.
only to find myself missing that opportunity so much that God used it to develop in me a desire to become a shepherd and to submit myself to him more fully with accountability to be healthy. And so in 2001, I became a pastor. And 2 years after that, they affirmed my call with by basically licensing and ordaining me. Saying they did the same thing at the same time, and then reaffirmed that after I graduated from Moody. So for me, it was this long process that then all of a sudden in 2001, it was like, this is who you are, embrace it. And God did that through a series of mentors and my wife, who said to me, why are you resisting God's call in your life? How about we start pursuing what He might have for you? And then I had a job in a church that I stayed in for 13 years. 6 months after that,
That's cool.
yeah. So it's
I
like
love
two
that.
parts, like resisting, embracing. Funny thing about it, when I embraced, I stopped having struggles with the areas that caused me to lose it the first time. So it's like, just my advice to you is when God calls you, don't resist. It's just messy.
So I had the opposite problem. I felt like there was a call on my life, but it came at a time where I couldn't understand how I would fulfill that. And so I wrestled with, is this something that is just, I'm supposed to lead inside of the church? Because that's how some people are called.
Yeah.
And so, I felt like I had this call. I felt like God said to me, I want you to teach. And I even felt like he said that he wanted me to write books, which I've never had the opportunity to do. And I don't know if that will ever happen, but I felt that. And then I went through a long period of time where God was like, well, now you know this, but you're not allowed to make it happen. You have to wait for my timing. So you just, you be a mom, you do the things you need to do. And when it's time, I will make a way. And so I was the opposite of Rob. I was like, what are we doing here, Lord? And so, I came to South Carolina hoping to go to CIU and get a degree, which I'm now finishing up. But at the time, I was unable to do that. And it was like God blocked it. And he was like, no, I want to do this in my way, not your way. And
Yeah.
so the things that I felt I was called to have been, definitely other people have spoken into that and affirmed those calls, but it came in his timing, not mine.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's
How about
cool.
you, Philip?
Yeah, mine was I mean, each one of ours is interesting, which is what's kind of cool to hear these stories, but I didn't even really know that I was going to be like a worship pastor. That wasn't really a thing that I even knew God could call me to. That wasn't even like, it didn't even really exist in my mind. And I did love music. And there was a church fair where churches came to my school because they needed help filling positions or whatever. And they were just like, setting up tables. And I went to this church and they said, we need somebody to do music at our church. And I was like, oh, I can play music. And that was literally the beginning. It was oblivious to like, this is going to be how you go through life, if you will. So I just didn't even know, but I did know that God was calling me to ministry of some sort, but I never really knew that music could even be an option. And so really my story the whole time has been like, God has kind of equipped the call for whatever he's moved me into, because I wasn't even really that good. I mean, at that time, whenever I was doing that, I had just failed getting into the choir. So there's like a choir you had to audition to be in.
That's amazing.
And I auditioned, like, this would have been like 3 months prior, and they were like, and it was a high school choir, you know, it wasn't like good, maybe 6 months prior. Kristen was in it. Kristen was singing in the choir. She made it, and I didn't make it. They were like, we're sorry, you're not ready yet. And then 6 months after that, I was directing a choir. And I remember sitting in the gas station parking lot before they interviewed me for this like real job. And I had a book that they gave me in school on how, and it said how to conduct. And I sat in the gas station and learned how to do the motions. And I went into my interview and I was like, well, I do know how to do this. And I showed them, and they were like, that'll do. You're hired. We're a tiny church, tiny church. And that was the beginning, but the calling really revealed itself over time. And then I would say about 5 years later, whenever there was a church that I served for a long time, before I left, God was moving me to Dallas, and they wanted to ordain me. They said, before you go, we want to be the church to ordain you. We've seen these things in your life and we want to affirm it. So that's kind of how it rolled out, which is what Michelle's about to do her ordination.
Well, let's not put the cart in front of the horse.
Yeah, Michelle could fail.
Professors from Moody to come down, because that would be fun for you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Rob. Yeah. So, Rob, are you ordained?
I am. I haven't led with it because my thing is I'm not ordained by like the Baptists.
Okay,
That's
but
why
you're
I've
still
never-
ordained.
Yeah, I am. I got the certificate right here. I just usually
Okay.
when people ask me that question, it's about am I ordained by a denomination? And
Oh.
mine was a two-part.
Well, see, I thought you weren't ordained until you just said that. I
Well,
really
no.
did.
No, I don't use it because usually people mean within a denomination.
Oh, okay.
So
I
most
didn't
people
even-
outside of you guys that are asking, is it E3? Is it it's a church followed by the professors at my university.
Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
every other
so
time I've been asked, they're asking me if I'm ordained in their denomination, which the answer to that is no, because I've never
Yeah.
done a denominational ordination.
well, we're a non-denominational church, so there you go. I
I wonder if I
I
can show
think
it.
that's cool to share those stories. Hey,
Boop.
there you go.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of people in church don't know how to discern their call. And I think that maybe you, from hearing us share our stories, you realize like it kind of happens. God does it. Like God moves you. And I mean, you can resist it, like what Ryan Rob's story a little bit, but it's different for everybody. And if it is a genuine calling from God, he opens doors and puts you in places and gets you into schools and, tells people to ordain you or whatever, I mean, it just works out. So follow God and you'll know. But here's the next question that I
Well,
think
let me
is a
say
good.
something else about that, Philip, real quick. And you don't have to be quote unquote ordained with a piece of paper on your wall for
True.
God to have called you to the gospel ministry. Because sometimes I think people use, and one of the reasons I've never led with it is because I don't want the impression to be that this piece of paper makes me different from my wife, who is a follower of Christ, who is supposed to do gospel ministry day in and day out.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a good thing, by the way, because it's helpful for all these cool tax purposes and all these other amazing things about affirming your call, especially. But just know that you were ordained by God the day you became a believer to be a spokesman of the gospel. You just get to do it in whatever profession you're in.
Yeah,
I just like to add that. It's important for
I
us.
like that, and I couldn't agree more. So this is kind of a cool segue. So we're in the series When Helping Hurts. What does being a shepherd have to do with When Helping Hurts? Why do we talk about being a shepherd in the middle of a series on When Helping Hurts? I know what you guys, I think I know what you guys would say, but I thought that's a good one for people. So what do you think, guys?
It's interesting because if you want to do good work with people, anybody can do that. Whether you're a believer or non-believer, you can all go and do loving things for your neighbors or for the students or for the first responders. But the question is, why are you doing it? For a believer, the reason why you're doing it is because it was modeled to you by your Lord and Savior. It's the mission that you are called to do. It's not something that you volunteer for. No, you are a servant because you were served by a Savior who died for you. And so therefore, the reason why we want to talk about it in this context is that if we say that we're following after Christ, then he came to serve, not to be served. And so for us, it is good that we are modeling what he did for us.
Yeah,
That's good.
I think you said it right. We are, all of us on this podcast and in the homes listening are under shepherds of the good shepherd. And so the concept of understanding what shepherds do in that language is very important if we're going to try to help people in a way that doesn't hurt them, because the shepherd will never hurt his or her flock. It's actually counter to everything. And think about the society in which this was written to. To hurt your flock was to cost you livelihood and to literally harm you yourself. Because if you hurt your flock, then you're out that money, you're out that food source, you're out that clothing source. And so remember, with the Bible not being written to us, but being written for us, the idea of shepherding is really important to grasping what we're called to.
It's good. Do you have any additions, Michelle? You don't have to.
No, I
No,
think they summed that up really well.
They summed it up. Yeah, I agree. I just think it's good to make that connection back to what this has to do with when helping hurts. You have to be able to know the why behind what you're doing, who you're doing it for, and have it modeled to you. And so we're looking at what God has done to us as the great shepherd too, how he guards and protects us.
Yeah, and he had a lot to say about shepherds who did not do their jobs. And so, when you read the prophets, it's all through the prophets. And, people think that God judged because of immorality and but when you read the prophets, he judged because they didn't care for one another. He judged because they didn't take care of the poor. He judged because they were not treating each other fairly in accordance with his law. And so a good shepherd is always, looking for the best welfare for their sheep.
So true. So there's this passage that I think Ray read in the service, John 10, 1 through 10. And it's cool because it's Jesus talking in this parable. But honestly, like for me, I'm not an intellectual. I mean, I'm a smart guy, but I'm not an intellectual. Like sometimes things fly over my head until I hear them like 4 times. But I love this parable because it's got the gate, it's got the enemy trying to get in, it's got like Jesus is the gate. It's just it's just a great passage to kind of just read like 5 times and notice something different every time. But it's like, for instance, it says, "Truly I tell you, anyone who doesn't enter the sheep pen by the gate, but climbs in another way is a thief and a robber. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens it for him, and the sheep hear his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he's brought them all his own outside, he goes ahead of them. The sheep follow him because they know his voice. They will never follow a stranger. Instead, they will run away from him because they don't know the voice of strangers." And like, there's a lot in there. That's John 10, 1 through 10, if you guys want to read that at home or whatever. So a couple things you said. He gathers the sheep. He guards the sheep. He's a gate. There's an enemy trying to steal, kill, and destroy, but he comes to give life. What does it mean that Jesus is or that he is the gate? Like, what is he talking about? Is it like, what does that mean? For people that read that and say, a gate, huh?
He's the guardian. He's the guardian. And so, you know, when I was growing up, if you really wanted to, and this is old school, but if you really wanted to date a girl, you had to go meet her dad. You have to ask her dad if you could take her out, whether that was to the prom, whether that was just to a dance or to the park, in just regular um in our culture, it was acceptable that you would go to the dad. And if the dad was not in the home, you should go to the mom. And so either way, you're going to the person that literally had authority, charge, and responsibility to care for that person before going to them.
Yeah.
Now, in the context of this text, the person that did not go through the gate, that did not go through the guardian, looked to get in another way to circumvent having to go to the guardian. So, you know, this is when guys or whatever want to date somebody and didn't want to go through her parents because they had different intentions. Because the hope is when you go through the guardian, that guardian will vet who you are. Because the text says, if I let them in and my sheep know them, they will be led out by them. But if you are not, the sheep run from you. And so Jesus is the guardian. So the same would apply for us. Who's the guardian of your heart and your head?
Mm,
Who is it
Yeah.
that a person needs to go through to get to you? Or are you of the elk that you don't need somebody?
Yeah,
to
you're
be your
standing
guard?
outside the fence. Yeah.
Yeah.
To be in the fence is to be guarded by God.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and protect it. You know, guarded is protection. And you know, it's like when my son wanted to go enter his first dating relationship, I used some of this imagery and said, you need to go and ask permission. And if it is not given to you, you do not have my permission.
Mhm.
And it went great. You know, I even bribed the guy to make it hard on Jacob, and he did a little bit.
ah,
But his daughter stopped him short, said, "Don't be too mean." But the point was, the conversation that we had was, I went to some of this about Jesus guarding us and how parents and fathers are there to guard the hearts of daughters, and talked about how someday, Jacob, you're going to find the girl down the line that you're going to go and have an even more important conversation. It's going to be something more than dating.
Yep.
And you got to be of good mind, of understanding the protector of who you are, so that you can protect the hearts of those that God gives you even short-term relationship with, where you can care for them. Because I don't want to teach people that sneaking in the back door is ever healthy, and sometimes we think it is, and it's a shortcut, and shortcuts do not work.
Yep.
no, they don't.
What do you think, Michelle, like as far as being a single woman? And I am making the relation into dating, but I mean, I hope this isn't weird. If it is, I'll cut it out. But I'm I'm like, you know, with people like what this is gonna be weird. I'm gonna ask it anyways.
Here we go.
Like, how would somebody do that in an attempt to be in a relationship with you? I mean, how does that work for single people in dating relationships? And I'm not trying to give people this
Yeah.
is if you want to date Michelle, here's how. That's what I'm not trying to be weird about. But just in general, as a single person, like what are you looking for? You know.
Yeah, you have to go through my Papa Ray. Did you see him looking in the face?
Well, I was going to say,
They're coming through all three of us. We're basically all
Yeah.
your brothers.
Yeah. So, you know, I think it's really important. I was in a small group recently and of single ladies, and we were talking about dating. One of them asked me, do you date? And, you know, I made my standard joke about, you know, divorced pastors over 50, that the pool is small, and that is true. But the truth is, you know, what my counsel was, go slow. You know, so this is a grown woman. She doesn't have a father here to look after her. She's like, I really think this guy is the real deal. I'm like, go slow. And one of the other ladies jumped in and said, you know, you should ask him to go through Every Man a Warrior with one of our pastors and let them tell you, which I thought was an excellent idea. Yeah, I did.
That'll weed 'em out.
Money.
That'll weed them out. That'll weed them out.
That'll get
Yeah.
them.
Yes.
Yes. And so I thought that was really good. So I would say to women, you know, if he's not a believer, first of all, then that's out of bounds. Don't even start getting your heart involved in that. You're asking for trouble. If he is a believer, then the people who love you, you need to hear what they have to say about this person. And maybe they'll know him because he's part of your life, or maybe he's new and coming from a different part. You need to expose him to trustworthy people who can give you feedback, and you need to receive that before you guard your heart. Okay, guard your heart. Do not let your heart be all wound up in this man before people who you trust say, yes, I think this person would be good for you. And so you're not wrong when the three of you say that have to go through us, because that's one of the things that would be really important to me is I would want the people who love me, and you guys are some of those people, to say, yes, I think that that could be a good match for you. That's worth, you know, considering or dating or exploring.
Mhm.
So I just think women need to go slow. Sometimes our hearts, we don't guard our hearts, and we allow our hearts to make a connection with somebody before we really understand their character. And it takes a long time to know somebody's character.
It does. It's always interesting to me too that whenever people start dating, many people, when they start dating, they disappear. Like they'll be in community.
Yes.
They
Yes,
will
and
be
then-
in community, and then all of a sudden they have a new boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, and they disappear from their community. Sometimes God is working through your community to help vet these people. If they can't be around your
Right.
closest friends, and you have to be a different person around them than you are, like, why can't everybody be together? I've always wondered that. I don't know why. I do know why people do that, but it's not healthy.
No.
It's not healthy.
Well, and you know, I think we have to remember that sometimes when you're dating, you have, you know, you're in love, it's all fun. But when you're going to go the distance with somebody, you both need that community. You know, if you abandon all of your community to date, and then you get married, or you know, you hit a problem, then you have nobody to fall back on. That's just not smart. There should be room in your life for more than one relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the problem is, you know, who are you worshiping in that case? You have to stay worshiping the Good Shepherd, no matter who else is in that pen with you. As you look
Yeah.
around those other sheep that might be there to care for you a little bit too. That, you know, if you notice sheep, they funnel each other, they do that kind of stuff. But you got to not take your eyes off the Good Shepherd, and that's where the gate comes back into play. The gate is meant to not only stop wolves from getting in, but sheep from getting out and getting into trouble. And so having that gate in place, who is Jesus, is so critical in all of our relationships.
That's good. I think we have time for one more quick question. And you don't have to share it on this if you don't want to, but has there ever been a time that it's really been hard for you to follow the shepherd, the good shepherd, to follow, you know, has there ever been a season that you thought, this is just, this is hard. I want to do things on my own?
I can actually be quick this time because both of our journeys into parenthood with each of the children, there were moments where it was almost where, if in all honesty, if I did not have practices in place that would ever keep me from doing so, I would have given up.
Yeah.
So my answer is yes. But what kept me from doing it was I had put practices that were not connected to my emotions that kept me in front of the Good Shepherd. But
Yeah.
yes, I do it. And when we
Yeah,
were
emotions.
when we were struggling with the adoption process and wondering if we were ever going to have kids, there was a point where I was like, okay, God, I'm going to try my own way. But the things I had put in place to catch me, that the shepherd had given me, stopped me. And
Yeah.
for instance, the gate closed and he kept me in the pen, even though
Mhm.
Let me say I need to preface this really, really fast. I'm gonna be just as quick as Rob. My last church, I was pastoring there for almost 8 years. I'd attended there for close to a decade. Here's the deal. Well, 12 years. Here's the deal. My first year of pastoring there, it was very, very, very difficult. And it was because I bought into the one church, three campuses mantra, but I felt like I was on my own. And it wasn't just me feeling that way. I mean, physically, I was on my own. I did not get the support that I felt I needed and that others told me I deserved and should have been able to count on. So that first year was difficult. I had my performance review and I had a meltdown with my staff and my superiors to tell them, we say that we're this, but I feel like it's this. I'm by myself. And the help that I've needed, I haven't gotten. And it took them a season, meaning 3 or 4 months, to get their bearings. And then they began to do some things. But it was the season for me to learn how to rely on the Good Shepherd and not rely on people, because it was his church and he had a plan for his church, even if they didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I've had a lot of times when it's been difficult to follow Jesus. And I would say that if you're a believer, don't think that that is unusual. Okay. Like, we get into problems, relationships, challenges all the time that make it hard to do things Jesus' way. Part of what kept me or keeps me in times like that is that when I was younger, I chose my own way and the consequences were huge.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still paying some of those consequences today. And so I have learned, it's like, it does not matter. It is what Jesus says. If I understand it's what Jesus says, even if it's hard, I have to find a way to do that in his strength and power, but I have to submit to it, because to go the other way, it is not good.
Yeah.
It is not good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. I think for me too, there's just been seasons of ministry. I mean, that have just been like, this is hard. I'm with Ray on that, of like, man, this just is not what well, I didn't sign up for anything. I mean, God called me. But yeah, did you have something, Ray?
I want you, Philip, if you can tell the story of us interviewing you in your tiny house, where you were at.
Gosh, yes.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
that question makes me think
yeah,
of where you were when we called you.
yeah. I mean, I can share it. It's a deep story. I think I'll try my best to share it quickly. But basically, so if I've been in ministry about 25-ish years, give or take a year, I would say almost all of that up until this move. Okay, not all of it, but a strong 15 to 17 years was very mega church minded. And when I say mega church minded, I mean like everything has to be bigger than life. It's got to be Instagram worthy. You have to be a certain weight. You have to be a certain age. You need to embody these things that everybody wants you to embody, so that you can basically live out what they can't live out themselves. People come to, wow, we love our pastors. They're so amazing. And it's basically pedestals. And not every church is like that, but that was my history. And it was just a flawed, broken system that I couldn't deal with much longer. And I couldn't deal with any longer, honestly. And so for me, I was very stuck, because I felt like this is just the way it is. This is modern church. Either get in or get out. And I was like, I don't like modern church, but I don't want to get out. And I basically thought I have to leave the church. How do I say this? I felt as though I didn't want to leave God, but I felt like I had to leave the church. And if you leave the church, you're leaving God. And I realized me leaving the church does not mean I'm leaving God. Does that make sense? in that context. And again, you have to remember, that's not every church. That was just my experience of a slow fade into performancism. And so when Eastlake came along, it just seemed very refreshing that the focus and the attention was on completely different things. And honestly, God had me in a place where something was going to need to change one way or another. And Eastlake didn't even have a pastor at the time. And for me, though, I was like, honestly, I've seen as bad as it gets. Like, no pastor, no problem. Like, I've seen way worse. Having no pastor is the least of my concerns.
Well,
And
we didn't have
it
a lead
really,
pastor. We had 5 pastors, but we didn't have a lead pastor.
We didn't have
he
a
had
lead
5
pastor.
pastors. Yeah. And I just thought, well, I know something needs to be different. I don't know what needs to change, but I know something needs to be different. And what Eastlake was doing or attempting to do seemed different. And it also didn't seem popular. And I was like, well, that's okay with me. I'm sick of popular. I already know how to do that, and it's lame. And so, like, people are mad. Well, people were mad at Jesus. So, anyways, that's a long story, and I didn't go that deep into it, but I hope that kind of helps. But yeah, I didn't want to leave God. I just didn't want. I never wanted to leave the Good Shepherd ever, but I was attaching God to church. And that's a shame that I had to make that separation temporarily, that, okay, God is existing in other places and in other churches. And so as what I knew as the church, I had to separate God from that. If does that make sense? Does that need translating? Okay.
I remember when we interviewed you, one of the things, so it was Ray and Rob and I and Leah that interviewed you, right? Yep. And so one of the things we were praying, the 4 of us, was that if you were the right person, you would be comfortable with this idea of us not having a lead pastor, but that we had an executive team. And we knew the person that was the right fit would be okay with that. And look how God works. Isn't that funny?
And I was like, the executive team sounds great. Actually, because I remember thinking a diversified leadership can only be healthy. Only good things can come from a diverse leadership that's genuinely has voices into decision making and not one person at the top. Yeah. Wow. God is good. Man, he's a good shepherd. Yeah. Okay, so I gotta wrap it up just because it's about that time. But final thoughts, anything we need to talk about real quick as we close?
Family dedication.
We've got family dedication coming up, and we got a meeting for that. You can go online to eastlakeonline.com events, and you can sign up to be at that meeting this week where Laura will go through what that means. If you have a 12-year-old that you've never dedicated, that you can do it. Newborn, maybe you're new to the faith and you're like, we never dedicated our children. I mean, this is open to you. We've had all ages of minor children dedicated, and it's a cool thing to do. Also got Summerama coming up, and we need more volunteers for Summerama. We got a meeting coming up on that in a couple weeks. So you can go online and look that up as well. Be super cool. This week I'm going to, at the end of the service, throw on my Summerama shirt and make this plug at the end of my message. But I'll say to you right now, sign up now for a meeting on the 7th, and you can help us with a great program throughout the month of June.
That's good. And it's about season to start nominating elders too. So be in prayer for that, because elder nominations are around the corner. But you need to be praying about that if you're going to nominate somebody. And we're not messing around with that stuff. The leadership, it's got to be God in it. So start praying. Okay, I think that's it. We'll sign off and see everybody on Sunday or sooner. Who knows? Yeah.
Bye.
Eastlake Community Church is an intentional, multicultural community empowered by the Holy Spirit. We passionately pursue a loving relationship with God and everyone Jesus was sent to die for, here, near, and far.